You won't feel it. You don't feel it.
As long as you're not just.
I will pay you can't smell.
If I do, like what? No more I'm going. So since you don't want that, I have to be making a.
Welcome to the Middle of Podcast. This is a podcast about the journey of life, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. I am your host, Makomborero, and today I have got two guests with me today. One who's been wanting to be on the podcast for a very long time, since we actually started. This has been long coming. But yeah, today I've got two guests, and my guests are my mom and my dad. Can you please kind of introduce yourselves? Yeah.
Okay, my name is Felicia Kadzianike. I'm Mako's mom. I've been wanting to come on the podcast, but Mako says I don't have enough viewership. So today, finally, I'm here.
My name is Percy Kadzianike, Mako's dad.
And this is today's episode. So I'd just like to encourage everyone, if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube page, please make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification, the bell for the notifications. Make sure that you like, you share with your friends, you even comment if you've got things to say. And also if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a 5-star rating. And yeah, let's get into it. So we've called it Meet the Parents. I know normally it has different connotations, but that's the podcast episode today. They were asking, so we've been laughing at my dad the whole time and telling him not to be too serious. Because he'll be funny as long as there's no camera. But once the camera comes on. So hopefully he's not too serious throughout the whole episode. But we're going to talk about a couple of things. But what I want to start off with, because this is the season where we're talking about different relationships. So you've met one of my friends. Actually, met some of my friends. We've spoken about, you can't park me, but now we're going to go on and talk about parents and the different relationships that are there with parents and their own relationships as well. So firstly, what I want to ask us is, what were your relationships like with your parents? Because I think sometimes relationships you have with other people form the relationships you have yourself. So maybe we'll start ladies first. Hey.
Okay. My parents, we grew up I was born in the 70s. Yes.
You're old.
Well, so my mom was very different from the other moms that were there at that time. My mother was very friendly. You know your grandmother? Very friendly. We had, so she had an attitude of she doesn't leave anyone to raise her own children or leaving things for Tete or Ambuya to do things like that. So we discussed everything. With my mom, we discussed I think everything. From...
Even him.
Oh, yes. Should tell us what you must look for in a husband. Should tell us what you must do at school. Should come into everything. So she had an opinion on everything. Yeah. And should say her mind. But my dad was a bit more... Right now, she's still very friendly. I suppose now it's different because she's older. So it's almost like a reverse where now I have to make sure that everything is okay with them. Now the parent, now she's the child.
Yeah.
But my dad was a bit more strict. I think back then, the fathers were more like head of the home and things like that. So when we were growing up, he used to say, there was this saying that he used to say.
No, he just sits and does what he wants.
He used to say to us, so it's like, I want to know who is going to, do something and then I'll react. But now he's so nice.
He's so mellow.
I can't even reconcile the father that I have now and what he was like when we were growing up, because he was very strict.
Yeah. And now he just sits.
And now when I go
let's
home...
go to the greenhouse.
Let's just put it this way. How many daughters did he have?
No, we're 5 girls
to make sure.
So those days, if you had daughters, you thought, I must be strict.
Yeah, but I suppose for him, because that's what he had also seen, and that's what he also did. But now when I go home, I say to people, I am the most spoiled person ever. Because when I go home, you say, what can I give you? I get peppers, I get cucumbers, I get lettuce. Every time tomatoes, he looks for something to give me. So now I think with age, he has really mellowed down. Yeah.
And you know there were 7 dogs at their house. Can you
7
imagine
dogs.
getting to their house and seeing 7? It was
My
a
whole
sure
thing
way
is
of
like, how
keeping
much-
people like us out. Eh?
How much food are you feeding them? Yo.
Because they had to make sure that the girls were well protected. So we had lots
So
of
a dog for each person.
Yes. Everyone had their
Everyone
own
had
dog.
their own dog.
Yeah.
And Uncle Gina 2 or 3.
Lol. All right, and for you?
Well, I grew up in Concession, born in the 70s as well, early 70s. And
You guys are old.
I had a very good childhood, actually. Very warm parents, very loving parents. My mom was a very caring person, very, very caring. But she was the disciplinarian, and yet somehow she managed the balance very well. My dad, not a single day do I remember my dad even raising his voice against me. I try to think, and I can't remember that. We used to spend time with them, go for drives with them. So I spent a lot of good times with them in my earlier years.
Like you just drove for no reason.
Yes, just to go around. And then
Around,
also as he was
Around.
doing and then as he was doing his various other activities, he would also, tag along. My mom was also a very committed believer, so we spent a lot of time. I feel like a Timothy in many ways. It was my grandmother, my mom, and so there was a lot of church activities that we used to do together. But I was born a number of years after the others. So I then grew up alone. So I spent more time with my parents than I suppose might be usual perhaps in those days, because I was the only one at home until
Then
my
you had a
little
younger
sister came in 11 and a half years later. So you can imagine.
Is that big a gap?
That's our gap between me and my next.
So you technically grew up a single child. Well, not as last
You were the
born.
last born. You see?
Yeah.
And alone, because my brothers and sisters also, there was a gap. Besides the gap, they went to boarding school. So yeah. So I spent a lot of time with my mom.
Okay.
And my dad. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's cool. So I like how you said that they used to go for drives. For us when we were growing up, I guess you did you give them their due, like copyright infringement, cause that's what you're doing. Because we also, especially when we're young, would go around. In other words, you're just getting in the car, you're driving to see places, do things. Sometimes, like you're saying, tagged along, just go, and you're like, where are we going? Around. Okay.
Yeah, but
And
I must
think 'cause we're
say,
just
now
keen to
that
go
Marco has
places.
raised the issue, the biggest problem was when I was working for shops, and them. And weekends, I would just want to go and see how the shops are and to take the boys. Oh, they were quite a terror. Running everywhere, all over the place.
Around.
We're going around the shops.
So they had another understanding of around.
No, that's good. I think it's interesting to see how, do you think these different like ways that you grew up have sort of fostered or directed how you guys take on parenting now?
Well, maybe I can answer that first. For me, yes, my parents then later separated. And yet, because of the way my earlier life was, I had a very good and balanced view of what parenting is, or how you can relate to your children. There was never a shield to this day. With my mom is late, but with my dad, there was never a shield to say there are things you can't say, or to say, you're afraid of approaching your parents. It was always very open, always very easy to approach, and always feeling that wherever I'm at, whatever I've done, I've always got, in whatever they do to me, there's always love and care in it, even if it was discipline or whatever it was. So yeah, I suppose it had a huge impact on me, because I think my view of what parenting is was shaped quite a lot by my parents.
Okay. Ma'am?
Yes, because my dad was very strict in terms of, I'm sure you've seen, I've tried, but somehow some things flow. Why are you laughing, Marco? I've tried. some of the things, to enforce, but some of them it works, some it doesn't. My dad was very strict on time. He was very strict on time.
See, I left your son yesterday.
So for me, I really learned my dad taught us how to value time. He taught us how to value money. He taught us how to budget. So he was like, the things that matter in life were like, they've got to be in place.
Okay.
I've tried to do that with my kids in terms of time, because you've got to plan. There must be some sort of plan in your life. You just can't just wake up and say anything goes. So I grew up with a father who was like, so even in terms of budgeting, I've tried to help my kids to budget, to money matters and all that, because that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
And my mom was just a person who she was a person who just loved too many people. Like everywhere we went,
everyone,
with my mother,
all
she
the
made
time.
a friend.
Yeah.
She made a friend wherever she went to. So I would always say, okay, like the other time we had to change our birth certificates because our names, you know how when you grow up and you're at a mission school, they just give you the surname that they think. So where I come from, you could have 2 or 3 surnames. So the surname I got was different from my dad. So I had to change my surname to be the same as my dad's surname. So when we did all of that, it was a long process. Every single day we went to the registrar's office or to the lawyer. My mother would come back with a friend that she's already helping and doing all sorts of things. And would wonder, and then she'd buy them food. If they had problems, she'd come and she'd solve them. And these were people should just meet, the random people that she didn't know about. So we grew up with a mother who should get into everyone's issues. So for me, I suppose it's the same way. Look at my son. Everywhere about the helping people. So being raised like that also sort of like spills over to you. Yeah. Also helping others, and you also try and
be there for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, my son, the mayor.
I don't know. No, but that's interesting. I think obviously for you guys, you grew up with both. Well, you're mostly girls and had like a brother.
One. Yeah.
All right, and then you had a mix of like brothers and sisters. What has it been like being parents of 3 boys? Because like I know people like, boys, but having like 3 sons, how's that been for you?
For me?
Yeah, I know you always wanted a girl though. Sorry.
The granddaughter is coming.
Well,
you can pray.
You can pray.
For me, I suppose because we were just girls. And having grown up with a lot of girls, girls can be drama. But I also didn't know boys can be drama. I just thought it would be different because boys, you think they are always, straight on point, no feelings, no what. It's almost the same, because it's just like, I've learned how to cope with too many males in the house. Too much.
But look at the advantage. Now you know how cricket works. Rugby.
Yes, I know cricket, rugby.
What terms do you know in cricket? Yeah.
Now you're trying to
No, I'm asking. Okay.
Okay. There is there are innings. You've got a bowler. You've got the batsman, wicket keeper, fielders. You can hit. If the bowler hits, the ball can spin. You've got those who can spin.
Yeah, spin ball.
You can have the one that curves.
Yeah.
I know cricket. If you hit the ball and it goes, and then it goes out without touching the ground, it's a 6. If you hit the ball, but it goes round that circle, it's a 4.
Yeah.
If you hit the ball, but it's caught by someone and doesn't hit the ground, you're out.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's
if you hit the ball and it hits the stumps at the end, it's a wicket.
Okay. No, you know.
I know cricket. I know rugby. I know cricket. I know lots of boys stuff now.
Yeah.
But it's been nice because then it's also easier when you raise them because you just know one from the other, but they are so different.
You think the 3 of us are very different?
Very different. Very different.
How?
Very different.
How are we different?
Okay. Personalities are different. Definitely one. how you relate with each one is different. Oh, and also the levels of reaction is different. So every one of you is very different. And I've actually enjoyed raising my 3 boys. The heights are different. The builds are different. The likes are different. Although the common in terms of business, that's the same.
Well, that everyone wants the business.
Everyone's
business minded.
Business. Everything is just business.
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 Business. All right, cool.
Well, I think for me it has been. Let me put it this way: I come from we were 10, 2 are late, we are 8, and of course we all grew up at slightly different times, but I've always had brothers and sisters around me. Lovely, loving brothers and sisters, caring brothers and sisters. So you always feel like you are a full family. So now having boys only.
Having boys only doesn't mean a full family.
Wait,
only 3 children. Can you imagine?
I'm the one who's.
You guys got
so
6. You guys are 6. You guys are 10. Then you only have 3 kids.
So
divided by 3.
That's 5.
So having boys only, for me, I must say, I always felt as if there's a bit of a gap here. Well, because I didn't have the balance of boys and girls. So I kept thinking, that's why I always wanted to have that balance. Also, even though I've got brothers and sisters, but generally speaking, we needed more girls around. So that part, I have to be honest and say, yes, I think I've missed being the dad of a daughter, of a girl. Because I think I would have loved to. But on another hand, perhaps I'm so caring that God knew that when it came to time, when it came for the time for the daughter to marry, I might have had a very difficult time.
So do you see your father doesn't mind who you marry because he doesn't care that much?
So when it comes now to raising boys, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think what I've really enjoyed is that I've been able, my sons are like brothers to me. And that's very good. And because of the way that I explained that even though I had all these brothers and sisters around me, the way I also grew up was that there was a bit of being alone as well. So having the boys has been absolutely great. I share everything with them. And I don't know if they share everything with me, but I share everything with them.
Well, they share everything with me. I don't know about you.
But it has been very good. And I know at critical times when there were real issues to ask in any area, I've had them coming forward, Dad, there's this issue, there's that. Whether it's to do with school, whether it's to do with business, whether it's to do with definitely a lot of questions around things to do with worship God and following the Lord. And also even to do with girls. So in every area,
what are those?
That I've really enjoyed, because that's what I've always yearned to have. So I think I've thoroughly enjoyed that. Then also in terms of the sports, cultural activities, I like to be a balanced person. So I don't just want to do just work only. And so because of that, I've really enjoyed the weekends, enjoyed the evenings when we're going out for music, going out for public speaking, going out for sports. I've really, really enjoyed that. So it has been a great joy raising boys. And of course, you could tumble and play and do all sorts of things. Boys are not worried that they might get hurt.
But they did get hurt.
Well, no, we got hurt.
Yeah, but it was okay.
Yeah.
With the boy, don't really feel sorry for them. They get hurt, they get up, and they're all right. And just to say, before I finish, at rugby matches, especially in the beginning, the mom didn't know when not to interfere. But for me,
that was in junior school. No, you learned
these are
quickly.
boys.
No.
No,
But
I wouldn't rush on the pit because someone is.
But I never went on the pitch. For rugby.
is on the
Never
floor
on the
and
pitch.
thinking
No,
they're
no.
ahead.
She didn't
no.
go on, but she
I
like,
never went on the pitch.
but that was in
rugby.
junior
She
school.
didn't go on
After,
the,
after the first
she
few
didn't
games,
go on the,
it's
she didn't
fine.
go on the pitch because we held her hand back.
No, I didn't. I never.
No, but
would
Shame,
have
after a
gone
few
because I
times,
played
you then
sports.
got okay. You were okay.
Yes.
After the first few
Yeah,
rugby
I
games,
did.
you were fine.
Because I was a sports person, so
Yeah.
I knew that you'd get injured, but not the rugby that you'd actually. So going on the pitch, I never. That one I wanted to disclaim. I never wanted
to
or even
display.
wanting to go on the pitch. No, but I enjoyed because even now I watch the rugby highlights.
Yeah, no, you do.
Myself.
So my
no, I
mom
enjoyed it.
she actually follows Super Rugby specifically and international rugby. So after church, you get home, she's like, put on the highlights. Let's watch what happened.
Yes, because I want to see what's going
So
on.
she's now full on a rugby person now.
Mhm.
But I was just gonna ask and say, so given like, having, I think you also touched on it, but having children who had different skill sets and giftings and stuff, how has that like sort of then like worked for you guys? Because I know, for example, one is okay, so Tasi, for example, like the youngest, I think is the most sporty of all of us, right?
Mhm.
But Tadi was also sporty and academic both at the same time. I think I was more cultural than the others. I was definitely more cultural than the other two, right? But how did you sort of like figure out, okay, we've got 3 kids, Ningi's got this, Ningi's got this, Ningi's got this. And then how have you balanced having children? They're pastors, by the way. So how have you balanced like church responsibilities and then family aside from like your children, but like extended family, or I say extended family, but just family in general? How did you balance all those?
Oh,
then
yeah,
also,
extended family.
I can start on that one there. I think from the onset, the good thing with me and
Fairly.
is that we from the beginning we were very determined, or we understood that each child is different. Because you come from large families, you are all different. And for example, I never saw my parents forcing anything on any of the children, but you would develop as you are. So we were quite determined that we would understand each child. The fact that primary school you went to
Your eyes
same
were
schools,
light brown.
different schools. Sorry?
Your eyes are like light brown.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a light thing or just...
No.
Anyway,
It's
go on.
hereditary. So on when it comes to the
Oh,
issue,
he's blushing.
so when it comes to that issue of we were very determined to say there are different gifts. We needed to understand each child. The fact that you guys ended up at some schools where you were together here and there, and then high school you all went to the same school, was really more accidental, if I can use that word, in that for each child we would actually consider with your mom and say which school is best for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because each child was different. And so I must say...
So why did the last one not...
Well, I must say that in terms of what we found, I must say, I know it's a podcast, but I want to speak about this because I really think that St. John's College has done amazing work with the boys. Absolutely amazing work.
Yeah.
I would advocate for anyone to send their child to
Hey,
St. John's College.
advertising.
Free advertising.
Really, St. John's College has really been helpful in raising our sons. And we found that even though all 3 of our sons were different, because we were intentionally found out their differences, they could all go to St. John's College because it could, it had something cater for everyone.
Okay.
So that's really, we had different thoughts earlier on. But when we then did our research
you
and
had
everything,
different thoughts.
yes,
you wanted it from
but
the
let's not
word.
Yes.
mention that. But because of that, that balance we found that it could be a home for all of our children, and it has turned out that way. But we also were careful to say that there's something that we were determined about. It's not really only the grades that concerned us.
Mm-hmm.
Grades are important, but I don't think you can let us know, but I don't think we ever put pressure for high grades. We were so concerned about having balanced children. It was such an important thing for us, so that there is a balance of, socializing, understanding others, and so on. And that understanding, and we thank God, we think that, you are fairly balanced.
Your answer is long.
Your answer's long.
We think you're fairly, so we thank God for that. Then, in terms of relating and balancing the workload, what we've had to understand is you've got to give time to everything that is in your life. One. Number two, don't work alone. Don't be a superhuman. So, if we are a church, there are many other gifted people. In fact, it is actually our job as leaders to lift up those giftings. The more you lift the giftings up, the more time you're going to have to spend with your children, to spend with your other family.
Okay.
And also at the same time as well, and by the way, God always meant it to be like that we work together and not any lifted up, as it were, but all of us cooperating together. Then in terms of business and in terms of family, I always feel like from a family point of view, I don't do enough. I haven't done enough over the years, but I do try. I do try. I do try to make sure that I keep in touch with the rest of my siblings, the rest of the family that God has graciously given us on both sides, my mom's side, my dad's side. So we make an attempt, but I think I could have done more there, in my view. Yes. But in terms of business, so I enjoy business. So it's never a task, per se. So, but now, of course, it takes a smaller portion than previously, because now at the moment, ministry is what takes precedence.
Okay.
Yeah.
You failed to answer some of the questions, but anyway, it's fine.
As a teacher, please, can you fill in the gaps?
For me, I suppose with my kids, having them so different is that we celebrated each one for what they achieved. And I suppose from the time we were young, if it was someone's has done something, we'd make sure that we'd get ice cream. Whoever was the center of attention would get a topping. The others would get a smaller one. So it's just the small things that, like, learning to celebrate one another when someone has achieved something. So it didn't matter whether it was in academic something or sports or cultural, but just learning to celebrate each child for who they are and trying to make sure that every child also celebrates, and knowing that everyone is as important as the other person. So that one, I think, also we tried. Well, did we do it?
I think you did.
Yeah,
No, you did.
And we have to remember that you the three boys are not us.
Yes.
So we had to really try hard. It's a real trial to say, don't expect the things that I did that any of you will do them. That we actually had discussed that. So we really have to try hard.
Yeah.
So if anyone was trying to push too much in any one direction, then my wife would come in. I'll give you a very easy example. You know how I love cricket.
Yeah.
Okay, I really love cricket. And two of my sons were highly skilled in cricket, very skilled, but they just decide to walk away from such a lovely
And they
sport.
went to basketball.
Of all sports.
Basketball?
Of
Who
all
plays
sports.
basketball?
I'm sorry, I respect every basketball player, but to me, you can't compare basketball and cricket. So
I was a basketball player. So
I know you were happy, but
It's
I was
What's funny is
heartbroken.
they were good
I
at
was
both
heartbroken.
sports. They're good at both sports. Though.
Yeah, but you had to leave them.
Yeah.
To choose what
I
they
tried.
wanted.
And
There
they
must
dropped
be.
quickly, eh?
Yeah.
And
They
there I
dropped.
must confess, I tried to say you've got to do. But
I think what's funny is for one of my
but
siblings.
my wife reminded me that we were not going to do that.
What's
We were
funny is
going
one
to
of
let
my
them make their
siblings,
own choices.
he wanted to change in Form 1. And it's like, no, please just do one more year. So he did one more year of
Cricket.
of cricket. But he said the condition is you get me like knew everything. So he got knew everything, played cricket for 1 year and left it.
Yeah.
You know, cricket is a beautiful game. It's a family game. You spend the day talking
cricket-
stories, watching, and
The
then saying,
most boring game
"Oh,
is-
that's a good strike." You know,
But it's fun to watch. I mean, the Chevrons are doing really well. It's great to watch other people, but playing it,
Cricket is nice when you watch the highlights. Not having to sit the whole day.
I can
for a
watch.
full
I
day
can
of
watch a
cricket.
5-day test every day and
know.
enjoy it.
I like ODIs. I like T20s. Ones I finish within a
Hey,
day.
you're not giving me
You
time
go for a
to
day.
answer.
Sorry,
You
go on,
haven't
mom.
given me
Go,
time to
go,
answer.
go.
You see, this is what I face in my house. I have too many names. Then I have to beg. I have to beg. Please give me my turn. Just joking. So for me, read your question again, both now.
No, I was just sort of asking like
how
you
you raise
managed.
your kids and family and stuff.
Yeah, and
Okay.
balancing everything.
For me, it was, well, I can't say it was easy because I'm a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, school holidays, I was at home with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
well, I
Sometimes
taught in a
you
government
do
school,
half
so
day.
would work not half day. You can't call it half day.
Okay, it's a
would
full
work
day,
until
but-
lunchtime, and then afternoons were free. So it
Mhm.
allowed me also to be able to just be around. Also, I think even when you try and balance ministry and kids, you must also know the kids must also know. From the word go, we involved them in ministry wherever we went. We went, especially because we ministered in Epworth for some time. We had a lot of things that we did. They would go with them to Epworth, show them. So that also, what you love, and what you love doing, especially if you love God, you've got to get your kids also to see why you love this God. So if you separate to say, no, they are just kids, they'll learn when they are older, it doesn't work because they've got to know from the beginning. But I hope we didn't load it over you too much. Yeah. So we try to balance bringing them along for ministry where it's possible to have the kids, but where it's not possible, we'll just leave them be who they are. And also trying to work around important dates so that they don't clash with ministry.
I think what I remember was I think in everyone's like final year, especially like in high school, I remember you'd be like, there's a meeting, but no, I'm not going. And like, cool, why? And it's an important meeting, I've got music that evening. Just kidding. You're like, okay. Or it's like, there's this ladies thing, and it's like, that day we're playing St. George's. That's the big game in the rugby calendar. We're not going. It's the last, and I'm like, wow.
No, especially for the last one, because you also want to create the memories. Because if you don't create the memories, you can't go back and say, I wish if I had done certain things. So, I mean, even
I don't know if this is like a specific verse, but even in the word talks about putting family like first, right? Like how I think it talks about how you can't. I think I'm paraphrasing, but if you can't look after your own family, how do you expect to look after other people? So it's like your first point of ministry is your family, then it becomes...
Well, but what we also did with the kids, what we did with you guys, to tell you that there are certain things that are important in ministry over family. And also what's important in family over me. So it's to try and put in that balance. So for example, if I looked at the matches, tournaments that were being played, there were some that I said, these ones are like minor. But the ones that I went to, I would make sure that I would really be there and supporting. So that
you're there for almost all the games and whatever.
So. But if I'm not able to, there was then the understanding that I have put in the time.
I've
I'll have my other friends, and I don't know how many moms you've got as a result. Lots of people would also then support you. So that you're not raising your children by yourself.
Yeah. I think also...
Shame, sorry to cut you off, but there's a good example of, I think you guys had to travel somewhere. I can't remember where. And one of my brothers, for their dance, they went with my Gumise. Yeah, because you guys had travel, but that was like, they also...
By the way, we really have to say this. Dr. and Maima Gumise, wow. Yeah. I mean, they're parents to you guys.
Yeah, they are.
And it's having friends like that make ministry possible. Because there we had to go for the ministry occasion. It's his prom night, and parents have got to go in there and get pictures with their children. And for Tasi, he went in there, and the parents were there, Dr. and Maima Gumise.
Yeah.
So
Shame, those really are his parents.
I
think of their own children and your children, Tasi is their favorite. But yeah.
I also wanted to say that you see, we were also very conscious that you guys, as our sons, as much as we loved you, you did not become gods to us. That you would not become a reason why we are not more involved in ministry. Because the moment that happens, then you are an idol. So we were very careful that even in the love and even in the family becoming first, we were careful that we did not, in quotation marks, worship being with you, but that we still had duties. And you grew up knowing that there are duties. There are times when your parents would not be there. There are times when you were alone. And so that's just, I suppose that's how we try to get the balance.
Yeah.
And also for you to know everything, there's always an opportunity cost.
Yes, teacher.
For everything, you always have to have a balance. You say, okay, this one or that one. But I don't think you didn't do so badly. I don't think we did so badly.
You know, we always used to have a statement, your mom and I says, we always used to say, no, children are raised by God. Because you can be with them and still there are issues. Yeah. So at the end of the day, yes, we do the best we can, but we have to serve God because in the process you'll be gracious.
Yeah.
And also you have to learn what it is to minister from us. So I don't think it was like going all out and neglecting you, no, but putting in the time. And also I think what I also
you guys like this topic, huh?
Yeah. So what we also discussed was, look, at some point our kids must be able to relate with our relatives on their own. Because I can't keep coming and saying to my sister, Makumbura needs this, or to my brother, Makumbura needs this, or to my mom. So I've also encouraged you guys to have a relationship with everyone. So I've actually insisted to say you must call your aunts at least once, not like every day, like they are buddies, no. But you must be able on your own to actually have a relationship with my sisters or sister or Vanatete and my Gurana mining on your own. Because when it comes, because you're now adults, really. So let's say you want to go and get married. I can't go and ask on your behalf for people to accompany you. Yes, I'll do it because we are parents, but there must be a relationship where it's close enough for you to be able to do it. So, for example, whenever you travel anywhere, I always say, if you travel, go anywhere. If there's a relative there, phone them up.
I mean, I remember during my gap year, before going to uni, I went to like South Africa for like, 3 weeks? 3-ish weeks. And I stayed with your younger sister. And then also, fine with my Nini, all right. But not everyone here is Zimbabwean who listens and watches. But no, the right term is my Nini. My Nini, it will be your mom's younger sister. And also with Sekuru Gina, who will be my mom's brother. And I spent time there as well. But not just that, I mean, like, even, I guess when we were a bit younger, I also used to spend time in Titishlo's house as well, on like holidays. But it's true. And I wanted to say, I wanted to actually ask, what have been some of your fondest memories? Like, but you have to be like, because you guys like to explain things. So, like, your fondest memories with each one of us, or some of them. You can just name one fond memory.
For each child?
Yeah, just one.
Let me think.
It doesn't have to be the best one. Just one memory.
First, you can put one and I'll put one.
So yeah.
That you go back and forth.
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
So, so you go Marco, and then you think you fondest memory with Marco.
Okay. No, I think for me, my fondest memory with Marco was always this music. Because I couldn't believe Marco could sing. So for him to be in the choir and a cappella, and they're winning things and they're traveling to Australia and they're doing it was amazing. But so I really enjoyed those times indeed. They were very special times. Just to watch him up there and say, really, Marco singing?
Wow.
For me, I suppose when Magumbure was always asked, because he's the one who was into sport.
Next child, remember we said
1-1.
I see, sorry.
Teacher, 1-1. For Magumbure, my fondest memory is that because the boys were all very sporty, he wasn't. But because he wanted to go into the school magazine, he says, Mom, it's very easy. Let me tell you what you need to do.
Shame. Let me.
He was a library prefect. He was in the choir. And then a cappella. Wait. Then he says, because everyone used to say, hey, Makumbra, he took it very nice and graciously. But he says, you know what? I am a schoolboy ref. You boys, if all of you players come onto the pitch, and me, the ref is not there, the game is not going to be fair. So
Shame, but let me put this disclaimer. When I was in lower 6, I played second team football. Right? When it came time for it's true. It's true. I played second team for 2 years, actually, from 4 and lower 6. Then it came up at 6. I was like, gee, let me drop football, right? Before I even went to any trials or anything. Then I went on to be a ref. But when I got to uni, I played football for the university team.
But
I'm just saying.
It's not.
I'm just saying because you guys make it sometimes sound like.
No. But then you say it. If me, the ref, I'm not there. All of you. Do you know I actually use that example sometimes when I preach to say everyone is important whoever goes on the pitch. Even the ref, because no matter how talented a person is, as long as the ref is not there to control and bring order, the match will not be done.
Yeah.
So you see, it's my mess. I actually use you to preach. Tadiwa?
Tadi.
Right. I think with Tadiwa, for me, the most special time was
fondest
his fondest memory is his final year. Tadiwa was rugby captain, which was quite an achievement, but he had a difficult year. They had a very difficult year.
He only played 3 full games.
Sorry?
Yeah, he only played
because of
2.5,
injuries.
2.5, 3 full games because of the injury.
Yeah, but not only the injury, but it was a difficult year for the team that year and a difficult time for him. But the way, so we had to spend a lot of time together to encourage him, to speak to him. And I must say, I'm very impressed that right up to the last day, he still led his team, still went out there and still they gave their all. So yeah, that's my fondest memory is I think it's just what he went through and the way we had to be very close to each other to hold each other up and the way that he managed to remain standing even in that difficult. So from I think it built a lot of fortitude in that. So for me,
that's true.
For me, I don't think you'd like me if I say this.
Say it!
His memory of Tadiwa was actually this year. He says to me, Mom, they sent us an email to say people failed this paper.
Yeah.
And I never said, shame, because I always pass all my paper. Do you know, I actually found that I won't say the percentage, but he had failed the paper. And he says, I was shocked. So I said to him, my son, just because you write things doesn't necessarily mean you have passed. That one I just looked at him and I said, oh, okay. Some people will just assume whenever they write and submit anything, they're
gonna pass.
Yeah.
Shame, he's one of them. Because most of the time he does.
Because he says, but most of the times I would have passed.
Yeah.
So I was so shocked that I'm one of the people who actually was.
Well, I think what just to comment a little bit, what surprised me about that is that was only one of many papers. He still had a very good result out of everyone else.
Did.
But he was unhappy.
But I'm saying, how can you as a person say you don't open your results when they come? And then you read a letter to say people have failed. And you assume, it's not even me. It's only for you to discover later that
you're one of those.
You're actually one of those. And he actually says, I was shocked. And I'm saying, oh, okay.
And for you, for Tasi?
Right. I think for me, for Tasi, my fondest memory would be actually from primary school. And it would be in grade 6, I think. And my fondest memory is, I think my son just decided that now I'm going to be bright. Because all of a sudden, he's just this A student. And I said to myself, I couldn't, how can I say, up to now, I still wonder what happened. But I think he was all right, but he was not exactly A class. And I think something just snapped in his mind.
Okay,
and he decides, you know what? I'm going to do it. And he actually says, you watch and see. So I thought
I remember that.
He said, watch and see.
I think he woke up it was a Monday.
Yeah,
he woke up and goes, wait and see what I'm going to do.
Go and see my results. See my results. And right up to upper 6, and now even with university, in uni with his first set of results of sin.
He really did wake up and just like, wait and see.
The light just switched on.
He's like, wait and see.
Yeah.
Wait and see.
He just decided.
But I think
light
that's
just
his
switched
thing, 'cause if you challenge him, he's like, okay, cool. Let me do it.
Yeah, he takes challenges and he does well on that. Yeah, so that to me was an amazing moment.
Yeah.
And the fact that the moment has lasted up to now is even more amazing.
And for you?
For me, I suppose because he wrote his O's during COVID. And so they were doing school online. And then, so he passed. I think he had half colors for academics. Yeah. I think he missed by 1 point.
He missed full by
for
2
full colors, yeah.
By 1 point.
1 point.
He missed by 1 point to get full colors, academic colors. So he said, because he was he's sporty, people would always assume that his school was not up to standard. They'd always assume that if you're very sporty, you're not intelligent. And because when he really went out on sport, he it was a joy to watch.
Yeah.
And then he got his results in AS. Then he wrote, the day he got his results, yes! That was my father's memory, because he says, Mom, they thought that it was a fluke. Now I have shown them that it's not a fluke. I've shown people that it's not a fluke, because he passed.
I remember
AS with all A's.
Yeah.
And I think language was the one that sort of, wow.
No, he still passed well.
No, he
but
passed
he
his
didn't
language, but he didn't get an A.
Yeah.
But he says, Mom, people thought it was a fluke. Now you see, it's no longer a fluke. But what then surprised me was his A-level results. He didn't care that much because he's already gotten a place in union. These ones are not as important as the ones that I have. So in terms of balancing his things, he's known what's important, what's not important, and he's really full of, when he's happy, he's happy.
Yeah.
When he's down, he's really down.
Yeah.
So
he's like on extremes.
Really know, yes. So you know when he's on the other extreme and when he's on the other extreme. So
yeah. No, that's very interesting. I think the last thing that I'm gonna say, so as we sort of wrap up, yeah, I think when you, like we said when we started off the season, is when you get to know more about the people that are around you, you get to know a bit more about. So, for example, hearing them, I'm sure you've gotten to know more about me, but also you get to understand how different relationships work in general. And seeing as a season on relationships, we're going to be touching on more to come as well. But lastly, I'd just like to ask you, because I think with every stage, the relationships look different. So I remember, for example, when we were younger, we used to sing and do like quiet time, right? And I remember you used to do it more often, and she'd be like, busy. But yeah, we used to have like what we call quiet time, where like I think it was about 7:30.
Quiet time, yeah.
Yeah, and then they'll like you'd sing like 1 or 2 songs, read the Bible, then you go to sleep and everything.
Pray.
And yeah, well, pray and then go to sleep. But prayer was a bit touch and go because by the time you get to prayer, everyone's like everyone is sleepy.
They're trying to say that I had long sessions.
Yeah, wow. When mom came in, you just bam, bam, bam. There you go to sleep.
Most people are
He's like, what did you read? Oh, Dad. But, there was that relationship where you're a lot younger. And the more that you grow older as well, the relationships look different as well. So, for example, when you're now sort of like in junior school, the relationships look a bit different because you're allowing people to make more decisions compared to like when you're like 5, right? Yeah. And then when you get to high school, it's kind of like, okay, but we're here, you know what I mean? And then you get to uni as well, and there's still a fair amount of support and everything, but it all looks different stages. Now that you're becoming empty nesters, so to say, in the coming
really
future, like I think because Tassi's age, let's say in the next 5 to 6 years, you'll probably be empty nesters for sure, right? And I mean, Tassi's now in uni, so yeah, you're almost there. What are your hopes for? And this is quickly, by the way. What are your hopes for your children? Like, in terms of, like, from this point going on? You don't have to mention each child, but just a general hope and how you feel about not having them in the house.
Percy, let's start with you because we can limit. You know, I'm a teacher.
I think generally we just trust that the things that, by God's grace, we manage to put into you, you continue to hold the values. And that we see those values coming out. We pray also that what God has deposited in you also continues to come out in every area of life. We definitely pray for very good marriages because that's so important for a person's life. I'm really looking forward, like I said, to the grandchildren, grandsons and granddaughters.
By the way, he wanted a daughter so much that when he started like one of his businesses, he called it Runako after the name that he would have named either myself or one of my siblings if we were girls. It's like if I can't have a girl in the form of a child, I'll have a business.
Yeah, so I really look forward to that. I look forward to my daughters-in-law. Just a message to them, if they're out there, I will treat you like the daughters that I always wanted to have. So please make a beeline. Make sure you're my daughter-in-law.
Goodness gracious.
For me, what I wish for is I really want my
No, I haven't said how I feel being empty.
Hey, you have to go.
Yeah. That's why how I feel being empty, nesters, is look, I think we are ready for the next stage of our lives.
Wow.
The transition is there. And we've got other things that that we're doing. Our workload is getting more. So, yes, at home we'll feel it. But generally speaking, from a time point of view, I think we're all right.
Okay.
For me, for my kids, what I'm praying for is that, one, that they would prosper in the areas, whichever area they enter into.
Amen.
Okay, not just prosper as in financial, but be able to fully express who they are, who God intends them to be. Because prosperity is not necessarily measured by money, but being able to fully utilize the gifts that God has given them. One, true. What I really pray for is that they'd hold on to the faith.
Amen.
Yes, because at least as we've walked, they've been born again. That they don't walk away from that. Because if a person is walking right with Christ, everything else God sorts out. Because you go through a lot of things, but as long as you read your Bible, you pray, you believe in God, God sorts it out in one way or another. Thirdly, I really wish they have good partners. And not wives, because I must be specific. Wives, because these are guys. I want them to have good wives, because wives who are friends. I've had a good marriage. No, I must be very specific. I've had a good life because we've been friends. There's nothing more. Okay, there's nothing worse than getting married to someone who's not your friend. Because at the end of the day, when you go home, you want to be with your friend, someone whom you can tease like this.
My dad always says, and then your mom, and then they say jokes, and it's like,
you must be friends.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm gonna tickle you, and you see someone like, you guys are like, and you're tickling each other.
You must be friends, and also because if you're friends, you're going to be married longer than you've been single. Hopefully, if you die like 80 and you get married even at 30, you've got 50 years with this person. So you must be friends. So that's my second one. Thirdly, the emptiness that I'm preparing, because you know how your father is so quiet.
Time?
Yes.
Cutting like a
That's
teacher.
why I'm going gaga. For my emptiness, I'm trying, because my husband is very quiet. You know that your father is quiet. So every day I'm telling him one story a day, one story a day.
So even if you have 3, you have to save them. You have to save
He
them.
always comes and says, I've got my story for the day. So he has to give me a story every day so that we continue communicating. But emptiness is how we're going to enjoy it.
Story a day.
Because what also then happens is, we are not going to be taking everyone along with us wherever we
And
go.
you know what? We won't be hustling with anyone. The one thing we didn't say, these guys, their rooms.
Eesh.
I think we're gonna cut this one out.
They need
No, that one is okay.
So we
But
really
our rooms
desire.
are not too bad.
So
no,
we
they are
really
not
Hey,
too
let's
bad
be honest, they're not too bad.
They're not
No,
too
they're
bad
not too
anymore.
bad, but could
Yeah.
be better.
There's always room for improvement, but they're not
They're
too
okay.
bad.
No, they're
They're
fine.
But
But
definitely,
the
the budget, there'll be huge savings.
budget.
These guys can eat. They really
I
can
want
eat.
to see what happens when they go out. So the two of us, we can now eat all those things that we can't afford. But otherwise,
Goodness gracious.
we are really praying
But
for
we've
you
enjoyed
to go
it.
out
It
of the
is-
house.
It's been an enjoyable journey.
All right, and with that being said, these are my parents, Fairly and Percy.
Yes.
And thank you everyone for watching and listening. This has been the Middle of Podcast. We're looking forward to the next episode as well. Remember to talk about relationships. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask us or for us to tackle, for me to address, let me know. Otherwise, my name is Makomborero Kadzianike, and this has been the Middle of Podcast. Make sure to follow on Instagram at TMiddleO Podcast. And if you're again on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any podcast streaming service, leave a 5-star rating. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe as well. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Cheers.
Bye.
That's what I thought you said. Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the Nah,